Chapter 28, The Second Tournament Task. The following evening. Hermione, Ron, and Harry were all trying to do last-minute research to help Harry with the riddle. Ron was sitting down, and so was Harry at one of the desks, surrounded by a bunch of books. I kept running it through my head to try and help solve it as well. Come seek us where our voices sound. We cannot sing above the ground. An hour long you'll have to look to recover what we took. Like Hermione, I was standing and pacing back and forth, even binding my fingernails anxiously. To recover what we took. To recover what we took. I softly muttered. Will we figure something out? Harry asked as he looked at me. I looked back at him. It's obvious that in a way, somehow, someway, someone is going to take something from each of you contestants and recover what it was that you took. I walked to Harry as he grabbed my hand with a tiny but tired smile. You're brilliant, Miranda. I held his hand, smiled, and let go a few seconds later. I mean, it is a start. We still have other things to figure out, though, I said. It was silent for what seemed like forever, all of us pondering. Hermione was walking back and forth, and I was sitting by Ron. There were bits and pieces we had figured out, but some not. After a while, suddenly, Hermione glanced at Harry and said, Harry, tell me again. Come seek us where our voices sound. He responded lightly, hitting his head on the desk with books in frustration and exhaustion. I continued to watch and listen to them as Hermione stated, The Black Lake. That's obvious. An hour long you'll have to look. Again, obvious, though I must admit it's potentially problematic. Harry interrupted Hermione as he turned and looked at her. Potentially problematic. When was the last time you held your breath under the water for an hour, Hermione? She looked at him and walked up to try and comfort him. Look, Harry, we can do this. The three of us can figure it out. I laid my hand on top of Harry's slightly to try and bring him some comfort. Yeah, we'll stay and figure it out as long as it takes beforehand, I immediately added. We all turned our heads to unexpectedly see Moody appear before us. Hate to break up this scholar session, but Professor McGonagall would like to see you in her office. All of us started to move, but in a split second, Moody also said, Not you, Potter or Pocker, just Weasley and Granger. Hermione immediately stated, But sir, the second task is only hours away and... Moody cut in, Exactly. Presumably, Potter is well prepared by now and could do with a good night's sleep. Go. Now. I shrugged my shoulders as I looked at Harry. Then I looked at Hermione and Ron. I'll stay. Go to Professor McGonagall. I'll see you guys later. They nodded their heads and left as I heard Moody call Neville over to help Harry put away his books, and I started to help as well. I didn't really say much as I simply smiled at Neville and he smiled back at me. Then he started to ramble off to Harry about plants, and I caught the tail end of it. Do you know there's a wizard in Nepal who's growing gravity-resistant trees? Harry responded, Neville, no offense, but I really don't care about plants. What a way to be blunt, Harry. I continued to listen. Now, if there is a Tibian turnip that'll allow me to breathe underwater for an hour, then great. I looked at them as Neville stated, I don't know about a turnip, but you can always use gillyweed. Tomorrow's tournament is definitely going to be interesting. The next day. I was walking with Harry and Neville to go to the Black Lake, as Harry was nervous about the gillyweed. Harry was a little uneasy, and I knew deep inside that Neville just wanted to help. Well, that makes you sight better than Ron and Hermione, Harry said. Where are they anyway? I shrugged my shoulders. I don't know. I was hoping to meet them, but I haven't seen them since last night. Neville looked at Harry. You seem a little tense, Harry. Do I? He questioned. I nodded my head as we were on the way to the Black Lake, and I tried to relax him a little bit. We looked at each other. I know you're tense and uneasy or whatever, but you can do this, Harry. He gave me a small smile as I smiled back. It was weird not to be beside Ron and Hermione, and honestly, I have no clue where they are, but I wish I knew. We all gathered and waited for Professor Dumbledore to announce as we listened. Welcome to the second task. Last night, something was stolen from each of our champions. A treasure of sorts. These 4 treasures, one for each champion, now lie on the bottom of the Black Lake. In order to win, each champion needs to only find their treasure and return to the surface. Simple enough. Except for this, they'll only have 1 hour to do so, and 1 hour only. After that, they'll be on their own. I saw Moody direct Harry to secretly put some gilly-wing in his mouth as he gagged, but swallowed it. Everyone stood waiting as Professor Dumbledore told everyone they could begin at the cannon sound. "Good luck, Harry. You can do it," I said loud enough. The sound of the cannon startled me as everyone went in and Harry was pushed into the water. I stood behind Neville Seamus and a friend of his as it sounded like Harry was struggling at first. "What's the matter with him?" "I don't know. I can't see him," Neville said. "Oh my God, I've killed Harry Potter." Then, out of nowhere, Harry flies in the air like a dolphin and everyone starts cheering, including me. I couldn't help but laugh and shake my head at Harry. I ended up walking around until I fed Fred and George and stayed by them to talk about the beds that they had made and such. It seemed like a long time had passed until I heard Professor Dumbledore say that Fleur wasn't a further part of this task and that she had been forced to retire. I wonder what happened to her and who in the world the person is that she was supposed to save. It was mostly silence from everyone around, except for a small chatter as we waited for them to start coming out of the water. I noticed that Barty Crouch was standing next to some of the professors from what I could see down below. I was anxious and hoping that Harry and Cedric would come out soon. After a while, Cedric and Cho appeared from the water. I didn't mind Cho every once in a while, but I still kind of disliked her a bit. As they came up onto the platform and started to dry off, Hermione and Victor came up from the water, and I smiled and nudged the twins. Fred, George, and I decided to go down below to meet them and also wait for Ron and Harry. Once I got down, I saw Hermione as I walked up and rubbed Hermione's back as she had a towel wrapped around her. It looked like she was shivering as I tried to help warm her up. I said, "Hermione, where's Ron and Harry?" "I don't think they have come up yet." I sighed worriedly. "I hope they come up soon. There isn't much time left." "I hope so too, Miranda, but he's really brave." I saw Fleur looking extremely worried, so I asked, "Hey Fleur, what's wrong?" "It's my little sister. She's still down there since I didn't make it that far. I'm sure she'll somehow come up and everything will be okay." She wasn't expecting me to hug her, but I did as she hugged me back and responded comfortably, "Thank you, Miranda, and I sure do hope so." She looked worried, and I don't blame her since, at the same time, I'm worried too for Harry. I backed away from everyone as I felt someone put a hand on my shoulder. I slightly jumped and turned my head to see it was only Severus. He whispered, "Are you okay, Miranda?" "Yeah, I'm worried about Harry, Ron, and Fleur's little sister. They're still down there, Severus." He kissed the top of my head when no one was looking. "Everything will be all right, love." I looked up at him as he softly smiled, and I smiled back. I was certainly feeling his comfort, which eased my nerves. Suddenly, I saw Ron and Fleur's little sister come up, and I felt relieved and glad. This means that Harry shouldn't be too far behind now. I glanced at Severus as he slightly smiled and nodded his head to mean I was going to find my friends. So, I went over to Sandy, Hermione, and the others as Ron and the little girl came up coughing. I watched as someone brought along towels to them. Ron glanced at me and smiled as I walked up to him and asked, "Ron, where's Harry?" "I don't know," he responded. Within a couple of minutes, Harry suddenly flies out of the water like a fish from somewhere within and lands on the deck near Professor Dumbledore and the crowd. I faintly heard Professor Dumbledore muttering, "Harry!" I was in the back of the crowd as I watched people bring him more towels, as Mr. Crouch demanded. I also heard Dumbledore shouting, "I want all the judges over here now." I went up to him immediately exclaiming, "Harry!" I hugged him tightly as I felt him get surprised, but he hugged me back. "Miranda!" I let go with gladness in my voice as I had my hand on the side of his face. "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay, Harry. I was so worried." "It's all right. It's fine now, Miranda." Fleur then came over to thank Harry. "You saved her, even though she wasn't yours to save. My little sister." She kissed Harry on the cheek. "Thank you." She then looked at Ron. "And you? You helped." "Well, yeah, a bit." I watched as she kissed Ron's cheeks. I smiled softly at her as she smiled back at me and left with her little sister. Ron felt his cheek and smiled as he muttered, "Merci." I just giggled and shook my head. Hermione comes and wraps another towel around Harry. "Harry! Hermione! Are you all right? You must be freezing." "Personally, I think you behave admirably." she states to him as she kisses him on the forehead. I finished last, Hermione. Next to last. Since I was right behind Hermione, I bent down to say, Fleur didn't get far enough, Harry. Suddenly, we're all caught off guard by Professor Dumbledore's loud announcement as Karkaroff and some of the guys start to chant Crumb's name. Attention! Attention! The winner is Mr. Diggory for showing a unique man of the bubblehead shark. I smiled as I saw Cedric cheering with his friends. He caught my eye from afar as he smiled at me and I mouthed, Congratulations. I smiled back at him just as Dumbledore continued. The way I see it, Mr. Potter would have finished first if it had not been for his determination to rescue not only Mr. Weasley, but the others as well. We've agreed to award him second place for outstanding moral fiber. I smiled big as I heard Hermione say to Harry, Second place. I held my hand out to Harry as I helped him stand up and hugged him as he hugged me back. When he let go, I smiled. Congratulations, Harry. I can't believe you're now in second place. Well done. He grinned at me happily as we all started to leave, and some of our friends were now cheering Harry on. Once we got away from the lake, I was beside Harry as he stopped to see Mr. Crouch waiting for him. Ron, Hermione, and I started to walk off as Ron shouted to Harry that we'll see him at Hagrid's later. I didn't get far from walking with Ron and Hermione as I felt a grip on my left shoulder and turned around to see it was Cedric. I looked up at Ron and Hermione. I'll meet up with you guys later at Hagrid's. I promise. They walked away as Cedric hugged me and I hugged him back and smiled. When we let go, I said, I'm glad you made it out okay, Cedric. Thanks, Miranda. And it was nothing much, really. Finding something to hold your breath underwater for an hour, now that's hard. We laughed as we started to walk. Yeah, I bet it was, because it was hard for Harry too. Don't tell anyone, but I kind of wish Dumbledore had asked you to be in the water instead of Cho. Just don't tell her I said that, Miranda, he shyly stated as he chuckled. I giggled and asked, How come you wish that? Well, because I wouldn't mind having to save a beautiful, sweet girl who happens to be a good friend of mine. I stopped as I blushed and looked down. Cedric started to laugh as he tilted my chin up. It's so easy to make you blush, but it's really cute, Miranda. Thanks, Cedric, I responded as I gave him a friendly smile. We stopped walking for a moment as he leaned over and placed a light kiss on top of my forehead. He then said, It's true though, Miranda. Please believe it. I really wish we were friends sooner. You are too kind. We continued to walk and talk for a while, just hanging out. A little later on, I stopped laughing at something as he said. He asked me, Miranda, why do you live with Hermione's parents? Forgive me if I'm prying, but I realized that as we got to know each other, it's something I don't know. I sighed silently, realizing I was going to have to tell my past all over again. Noticing my actions, we sat down side by side as I told him everything that happened, and he listened with comfort. When I was done explaining my past, he asked, So if he somehow comes back, he'll not only go after Harry, but you also? I nodded my head. Yeah, most likely. My parents did the same as Harry's. They wanted to protect me with their lives. I'm their only child. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you have step-parents who love you. Don't be sorry, it's fine. Just please don't tell anyone I told you. No worries. Your secret is safe with me. I smiled lightly for a moment. You have a really great dad, you know. Also, if you didn't know, my stepfather, who was Hermione's father, passed recently. Oh yeah, I heard about that. I looked down sadly as he lifted my chin. He wiped a tear that was falling down my cheek and softly smiled at me to try and get me to smile again. Please smile, Miranda. I would hate for you to cry. I smiled back, softly as he just chuckled, I guess, glad that he succeeded. Then I remembered that I hadn't told him about the nightmare I had. I had to try and warn him now or never. Cedric, I think you should know that I had a nightmare that involved you. What is it? Well, it was Voldemort. He's going to try and kill you during the last task. I can't say more than that, but I'm scared for you. He was shocked and confused, but he wrapped his arms around me and looked at me. What came out of his mouth next was something I don't think I'm ever going to forget. Even if that will be true, Miranda, I'll fight if I have to. I will not forget the people who love and care about me. I won't ever forget about you and the friendship you gave me this year. I'm grateful for that. Just know that I would want you to live a happy life, and I hope that your one true love would be with someone great. like Snape if it'll be him. I was so shocked, but also in awe of what he said. I couldn't say anything for a moment. After a minute, neither of us said a word as he saw how I was reacting and hugged me tightly. I smiled softly as I hugged him back and responded, "Hold on. I know what you think of my relationship with our potions teacher, but do you really think that he is my true love?" He nodded and said, "Yeah, of course I do. I mean, it's possible. Anything is possible, really. But it's easy to tell by the way you two look at each other all the time." After talking for a while longer, it was dusk, so we said our goodbyes, and I headed my way to Hagrid's.